The air in my Charleston kitchen was still thick with the ghost scent of wedding cake, and wilted gardenias across the polished mahogany table sat my daughter Sophia, her face still holding the ethereal glow from her wedding 2 days prior. Beside her, her new husband, Julian Croft, lounged with a proprietary air. His arm rested along the back of her chair, his smile a masterpiece of practiced charm. Then he slid a thick manila envelope across the table. It stopped just short of my teacup. An offering or a demand. This is just something we thought would make things easier. Eleanor Julian said, his voice as smooth as honey. You know, asset alignment, future planning. Sophia beamed, eager to please. It's just a formality. Mom Julian is brilliant with finances. We're setting up a trust for when we have kids, you understand. Right, a knot of ice formed in my stomach. The envelope was heavy, and on the front, typed in a crisp, impersonal font, was my full name, Eleanor Vance. Just take a look when you can, Julian added, rising. We're off to Santorini tomorrow, but this will save time later. Remained silent. I didn't open the envelope until their car faded down the oak-lined driveway. How I inherited $7 million when I did. My hands trembled with a cold fury. There it was, in stark black ink. A comprehensive financial agreement drafted as if I had already consented to allocate a significant portion of my assets into a new Croft family trust managed exclusively by Julian. He had no idea what he was truly reaching for. No one. Did they believe I was merely comfortable? A widow left with a beautiful home and a respectable portfolio. They didn't know about the true inheritance my husband Robert had shielded from the world after his death. I had quietly consolidated his offshore investments into a single staggering sum, $7 million. It sat in a private holding account under a corporate name no one could connect to. Me thank God for Robert's foresight. I knew exactly what Julian was, and he had no idea I'd seen his kind before vultures in bespoke suits. But I wasn't just going to refuse. I was going to set a trap so elegant that he would walk into it smiling the bait, a fabricated transfer. The moment he tried to seize a new, modest inheritance deposit, I would have him before I could act. However, there was a sharp knock at my door the next morning. It was a lawyer. His presence, an unwelcome intrusion. In his hand, he held another contract. This one was labeled with 2 words that made my blood run cold: the wedding day. My daughter's big moment emergency addendum, and below that, already signed in her beautiful script, was my daughter's signature. Mrs. Vance, he inquired. My name is Marcus Thorne. I'm here representing Mr. and Mrs. Julian Croft regarding an urgent financial arrangement. I blocked the doorway. My daughter's name is Sophia Vance, I stated flatly. She kept her name. He recovered with practiced ease. Of course, my apologies. May I come in? Every instinct screamed at me to slam the door, but a colder, more calculating part of me knew I had to understand the full scope of their attack. I stepped aside. He walked in as if he owned the place, setting his briefcase on my dining table. This document, he began, is a precautionary measure. Julian and Sophia have decided to combine their financial futures. This extends to any immediate family holdings that could benefit the trust. He pointed to a paragraph, Section 7.2, Parental Estate Disclosures and Pre-Inheritance Trust Structures. They were asking me to declare all my assets present and future. They were sniffing for the $7 million. I glanced at Sophia's rushed signature. Did she even read this? He offered a condescending smile. They're young, they trust each other. Wrong. Answer, I planted my hands on the table. Tell Julian he will have to wait. I don't sign anything without my own legal counsel reviewing it. A flicker of annoyance crossed his face. I understand. When can they expect your response? You'll have it, I said, opening the door for him when I decided to give it as soon as he left. I called my attorney, Arthur Sterling. Arthur had been Robert's closest friend. Why I decided to keep the inheritance a secret, a man whose loyalty was beyond question. They're pushing contracts at me, Arthur. I said, Sophia just got married and her husband has lawyers at my door. He listened patiently. You want me to review them? No, I said firmly. I want you to draft a decoy. There was a pause, then a soft chuckle from his end. I want a legal-looking summary of estate holdings. Make it show that after settling Robert's debts, I was left with only $240,000. Create a false but plausible bank transfer. Trail make it look legitimate, but entirely unimpressive. You want to make them think the well is shallow, he concluded exactly, and I want it to be just traceable enough for a clever man like Julian to discover it. And the real money in a blind trust, they will never see a penny. He exhaled slowly. You were always a step ahead, Eleanor. By the end of the week, the forged documents were ready. I left the file lying casually on the desk in my study. Then I waited 4 days later. I received the message I was expecting an automated fraud alert from my bank. A flagged attempt had been made to access an old dormant joint account under my maiden name. The emotional struggle of keeping the truth hidden, an account only Sophia knew about. They weren't just sniffing anymore. They were digging that night. I sat with the fake inheritance summary in one hand and Julian's contract in the other. The time for quiet defense was past. It was time for a confrontation, but not with anger. I would use something he'd never expect: gratitude. The next morning, I called Sophia in Santorini. Sweetheart, I said warmly. When are you two back tomorrow, actually? Why tell Julian I have the papers ready? I've had a chance to think, and he's right. I'd love to go over them with both of you at lunch. My treat. Oh, Mom, that's wonderful. I knew you'd understand. I ended the call, my face a grim mask. They thought they were about to win. They didn't know. They were about to sit down to a full serving of carefully constructed truth. But before I could finalize my plan, my phone chimed with a text from Sophia. Mom, we need to talk first. Please don't be mad. Julian said you threatened him. He was twisting it, painting me as the villain. I had to move carefully. I called Arthur. They're twisting it. I said I figured they would. He replied calmly. Still want to do lunch. How the secret impacted our family dynamics. Yes, but you're not coming as a lawyer. Just as a friend, no briefcase. Just watch and record. The next day, I reserved a table at a quiet garden cafe. They arrived on time, Julian in a pale linen suit. Sophia looking nervous after a moment of awkwardness. My friend Arthur joined us, whom I introduced as being in insurance. We made excruciating small talk until Julian leaned forward, his expression sincere. Eleanor, I want to clear the air. I never meant to pressure you. I just felt protective. He produced the manila envelope again. I brought the paperwork just in case I took it, then reached into my handbag and pulled out my own document, the decoy. I placed it neatly on top of his. This is my full inheritance disclosure, I said evenly. $240,000 after all of Robert's final debts were cleared. It's all I have left. I saw the gears turning behind Julian's polished facade. The amount was too small to be worth the risk he was taking. Sophia looked devastated. Wait, Mom. That's all your father had more liabilities than I told you, sweetheart, I said softly. I didn't want you to worry. Why, I'm thankful I kept the inheritance secret. Julian's smile was now a thin, strained line. I added the final detail. I'll be rolling the remainder into a modest annuity for my retirement. Julian stood abruptly. I need the restroom, he said, forcing a laugh before walking off as soon as he was gone. Sophia leaned in. Mom, did you really threaten him? No, sweetheart, but I did say I wouldn't sign anything without a legal review. That must have scared him. When Julian returned, he was too calm. You know what he said smoothly? You're right, Eleanor. I rush things. We should build trust the old-fashioned way. Lunch ended with hollow hugs as they walked away. I knew I hadn't won. I had merely survived the first battle. 2 nights later, my banker called. There was a withdrawal request made for the full $240,000. She said urgently. It was initiated through your old digital banking profile, using your daughter's tablet. The IP address traces back to their hotel in Santorini. He had tried to take it. The only problem for him was that the account was a dummy. What terrified me was that he had my daughter's passwords, her trust, her entire digital life. I called Sophia. The call went to voicemail. A text appeared. Hey, Mom, we're exhausted. Can we talk tomorrow? Exhausted, right? The lessons learned from this grandma true story. I was no longer dealing with a gold digger. I was dealing with a thief. And he was sleeping next to my daughter. By morning, I was on the phone with Arthur. He tried to take the fake money. I need a digital trail already on it. He said, we'll get the IP, the device, signature, everything but Eleanor. We're running out of time. I messaged Sophia, come to the house alone. I made that lemon cake you love. She arrived that afternoon alone and hesitant. We sat at the kitchen table. I need to talk to you. Sophia, I began gently. Last night, someone tried to empty my retirement account. It was done using your tablet from your hotel in Greece. Her face went pale. What? No, he wouldn't. He did. He found the fake document I left out and he tried to take it all, her eyes filled with angry tears. You set him up. You baited him. I leaned forward. I protected you. I had to know who he really is. She stood abruptly. This is insane. You're spying on us. I'm trying to stop you from being robbed, blind. I stood too. He loves me. She cried, then asked him why he was secretly on your tablet in the middle of the night. He told me you were paranoid. She sobbed, grabbing her purse. I can't do this. And she was gone, leaving me in the wreckage of my own plan. Conclusion. What happens next for our family? I had pushed her directly into his arms. Just then, Arthur called. I got it all, Eleanor. The digital forensics are conclusive. It was him. It won't matter if my daughter hates me, I whispered. She won't. He said, now. What if we go further? Send me the wedding videos. Men like Julian are arrogant. Arrogance makes them careless. That night, I watched hours of footage, and then in a grainy phone clip, I found it. Julian surrounded by his friends. One of them asks, so what's next, man? You married rich. Julian laughed, raising his glass. Not yet, he said loud and proud, but give me a month. You'll see there. It was arrogance and intent, caught on camera. I sent the clip to Arthur. His reply was instant. Got it. This is gold the next morning. I drove to their condo. Julian answered the intercom. She doesn't want to see you, he said flatly. Fine, I replied, turning away but not before slipping a small USB stick containing the wedding video into their mailbox. 2 days later, Sophia showed up at my house, her eyes red and swollen. She sank onto the sofa. I watched the video. She whispered, I asked him about it. He said it was just a joke. She took a shuddering breath, but I checked his browser history on the tablet. Mom, he'd been looking up how to access trust funds, how to bypass two-factor authentication. I went to her and finally she let me take her hand. I'm so sorry, she sobbed, collapsing against me. Just then her phone buzzed. She looked at the screen, her face going slack with shock. It's Julian. She said, her voice flat. He says he's lawyered up. He says, if I try to leave him, he'll sue me for fraud. This was his endgame. If he couldn't steal from me, he would bleed my daughter dry. Not on my watch, I whispered. I called Arthur. She's here. He's threatening legal action. Good. Arthur's voice was grim. Then it's time we play our hand. He had already prepared a full report, the digital forensics, the IP logs, and the damning video. We set a meeting for the following afternoon at a neutral law office. I told Sophia she didn't have to come, but she insisted I need to see his face. When he realizes I'm done, we arrived early. Julian swaggered in 10 minutes late. His smile faltered when he saw Arthur in the corner. Arthur handed him a folder, a courtesy copy of our findings. He said. Julian flipped through the pages. The color drained from his face. There's no crime here, he blustered. Not yet, Arthur said calmly, but we have enough to open several investigations. Identity misuse, fraudulent coercion. Your voice is on video. Julian, I said quietly. He shot a venomous glare at Sophia. You told them. She didn't flinch. Her voice was clear and steady. Nanto, Julian, you did. He slammed the folder shut. What do you want? He snapped. You will disappear from our lives. I said you will sign a full annulment and release Sophia from all legal claims. No court, no battle. He laughed bitterly. Or what? Arthur pulled out a second folder. Or this entire package goes public. We already have a reporter very interested in a story about a man who marries for money and gets caught. He was a cornered animal and he knew it. He stared at Sophia, one last attempt to find a crack in her resolve. She met his gaze and slid a pen across the table. He snatched it and signed every last page. Then he stood, fixed his clothes, and walked out without another word. Gone. Sophia broke down and I wrapped my arms around her. "It's over," I whispered. "You're safe now." She pulled back, tears still in her eyes. "No, Mom, it's not over until I fix what I broke with you." "I doubted you." I smiled gently. "You believed in love." "Sophia, that's not a crime, that's being human." That evening, we made pasta in my kitchen, the warmth chasing away the last of the shadows over dinner. She asked the question that still lingered. "Is it true?" she said softly, "about the money?" I paused, then nodded yes. "I inherited $7 million. Her eyes widened. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I wanted to protect you from men like him, from what that kind of money can do to people." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "From now on," she said, with a newfound resolve. "No more secrets." I nodded, my heart full. I realized then that the true inheritance Robert had left wasn't the $7 million. It was the wisdom to see the truth and the strength to fight for what matters. And that was a fortune I could finally safely share with my daughter.